Hello, everyone. This is Matt Patel. I'm with Malbek Enterprise CLM Platform, and I am your host for Contractually Speaking, our podcast. And today I have my good friends and amazing legal ops professionals, Steph Corey and Sumi Tromley from Uplevel Ops. Hello, Steph. Hello, Sumi. You want to introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, great to be here. I really appreciate you having us on your podcast, Matt. I'm Steph Corey. I've been doing legal operations for a really long time. I'm the founder of Uplevel, but before that, we're a consulting firm who helps all kinds of legal departments with their legal operations, infrastructure, getting people, process, and technology in order. But before that, I was in-house at HP and VMware and Flextronics running their operations. I founded Link by the L Suite with the co-founder and then also the Clock organization. So in other words, I've been around the block a few times and I feel it. Let me tell you that, Matt.
Yeah, great. And Sumi?
Yeah, I'm Sumi Trombley, and I've been with Uplevel now for 6 years. And before that, I was an attorney. I practiced in-house and I practiced at law firms. And I generally assist our clients with workflow automation and contracting things. So, um, I of course love to talk contracts, but we can talk the array of, of things legal ops.
All kinds of things, exactly. So in the next 15, 20 minutes, we'll try to tackle two, three different topics that are top of mind for everyone in the current age of legal technology, legal process, and AI. Let's start with a topic that I've seen a lot of posts and conversation about on LinkedIn or at trade shows or even in meetings or webinars. There's the legal technology solutions, whether you call it a solution or a platform. you know there's e-billing, matter management, intake, CLM, and then there's this new age of point solutions that are plugins or AI tools that are quick. You can get it up and running just without having to go through a whole enterprise buying cycle. And what's the right answer, right? Can you skip the legal technology solutions and go right to the AI tools, or do you need both? Would love to pick your brains and thoughts on what you think, and maybe we'll start with you, Steph, on this one.
Yeah, actually, Sumi has a great answer for this. I'll just give you my high level view. It's because we work now with a lot of clients who are running many, many POCs, and it's funny with the other solutions, Matt, and you've been doing this a while too. Like in my mind, there's clear winners for different use cases, right? You've got some big companies, the 2 or 3 vendors to go to. You've got mid-sized companies or small companies, the 3 to 5 vendors. You should really stick in front of them and say, these are the tools you should be evaluating. And we're really in a different world right now where so much is coming at us so fast. And so I'm going to let Sumi answer the question because I really feel like there's more questions than answers right now with the new technology coming at us so fast.
Yeah, I think you really need to understand your requirements. It's still basic. Whether you want an enterprise solution or a point solution, what is the problem you're trying to solve? There are point solutions that if you really, really are struggling with redlining and you just need something right now, yeah, go with that. It's going to take time and both human resources and monetary investment to set up a CLM. It's faster to get that other piece. But if that's not what you're really needing to do, and actually your problem is that I can't find my contracts and I need a good workflow to have an audit trail, then those point solutions may not be the answer. So I think it really, really depends, and I always try to push our clients to ask them, what is it that you actually want? And don't just go AI. I mean, what is it that you want? Maybe AI is the solution, but maybe you need to go back to basics. So
yeah, and as you were talking to me, I was thinking like going back to basics. We really mean basics by this. Like, there is so much you can do, and I think it's funny when I said like all these AI solutions and all these solutions are coming at us. I think it really drives the point further, like going back to basics, Sumi, because you like there's so much you can solve even before you even look at technology. Like, do you have thresholds in place? Do you have rules of engagement? Do you know like when people should be coming to legal and when they can do things on their own? Have you put out playbooks and templates for them so that they can like do now technology can enable all of this, of course, but you need the substance before you can implement the technology. And so many people haven't done any of that readiness work. And that is like really critical. And you can't implement AI, in my opinion, anyway. Let's see if I'm wrong, but you can't implement AI without having done that first because you need that content in order for the AI to actually work. And so really people need to go back to basics and make sure that they've got their ducks in a row. And then like Sumi said, like, what is it that, what are your biggest pain points? Because that's going to really narrow down the field of solutions that you're looking at.
Well, what you kind of brought up a great point, Steph, because
Now we don't need you for this. We find you stuff, sign off.
Do I raise my hand? I have a no. This is great.
I just want to make one point, which is because you mentioned like the readiness stuff. I do think that some of the point solutions can help with the readiness, and maybe that's where they really can play in a big role these days, to get you those playbooks, to get you to understand what your contracts look like, or get you to understand what your matters look like, get some preliminary readiness done before
playbooks or something like that.
Yeah. So I do think that maybe that's where they can really play, and then you can take the steps to build a more like sustainable foundation.
Yeah. So and what I've seen, and my world is CLM, as you know, but I'm sure this applies to all other legal technologies, is if your organization is decentralized and does legal own contracting? I've seen some large organizations where legal is just there reviewing contracts and then it's owned by procurement or a different group. Legal is primarily reviewing and making sure the contracts are having the right language, the risk is managed, compliance, and then off it goes back to the business team that owns it. Those are factors that go into this, because if you're a legal department that is only reviewing contracts and the documents and all are owned by the business, then you can actually use one of the point solutions for just redlining and playbook review and getting your job done quickly. Is much easier to sign up for those AI tools for 5 lawyers in a company and not have to worry about the full platform where you have to convince IT and finance for budgeting and sales and procurement. But if you are a company where contracting is part of all of these departments, because they're requesting contracts, they want visibility, legal needs to make sure that they're reviewing it, cycle time matters, then the point solution in Microsoft Word might not be enough. You need the CLM platform where the playbook and the redlining is now a feature, not a complete different module. I also feel like what you said about knowing what are your use cases. I think companies people evaluating these products are going from some have nothing. They have a repository in SharePoint, trying to go to agentic AI and all the bots and everything. That's a huge leap, right? Maybe baby steps. So my next question or the topic we can discuss is how does exactly legal ops team, how do they get an organization to adopt AI, ethical use, make sure that the right people who should be using it are using it in a good way? Are there policies in place, right? Who enforces those policies? Because the roles of CTO or the chief procurement officer or chief legal officer, there was no AI ownership or governance. Do we need an AI officer, or does legal own that? Any thoughts on how to enforce and who owns AI in an organization?
Oh, that's a really good question. I would say, it's organization dependent, of course, depending on the size, complexity, how AI forward the organization is going to be, all of it. but legal plays a bigger role than they ever have in the past. A couple of things are happening that I'd never seen in my 20 plus years of doing this, right? Is that legal is getting a lot of pressure from the other executives to implement AI. Now, you never saw that before, right? A CEO never came to a general counsel and said, implement e-billing or anything like that. Maybe some light pressure on contracting in terms of automating it and making it faster, but certainly nobody was ever coming to legal and pushing them to use technology. But we're seeing it now big time. And that puts legal in a situation where they really do have to understand the risks and, what they should be doing. We're seeing a lot of, and they're driving a lot of it. And so we're seeing a lot of IT teams saying, you know what, we're just going to use Microsoft Copilot because we're a Microsoft shop and it's just easier to, it's safe. It's on by default. We'll just turn on these licenses for people. And now they've got Copilot and they can use it. The problem is, it's Copilot's fine if you want to have it do meeting summaries and summarize this document for me. And, the Copilot within the applications like Word and Excel or whatever are fine. But building custom bots and really taking it to that next level of using AI, certainly agentic AI, Microsoft doesn't do a good job. In fact, Microsoft just came out with an article saying that Copilot should be used for entertainment purposes only. I don't know if you saw that, Matt. We totally were laughing. You're laughing at that. We're like, okay. And then they just came. What's that?
I said, that's what I have time for, right? Go entertain myself.
Yeah, we're going to play in Copilot now. That's what I want to use all my downtime to do. So anyway, so we've been really pushing legal teams to look at other models, and we're model agnostic, but like whether it's Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, they're really powerful, right? And you could build custom bots, like starting there around a playbook or something and have it answer questions. And so, so we're pushing legal teams to try that and just saying, look, all these things that you want to do when we start digging in with them, it's not possible in Copilot. You just can't do it. And so you're going to have to really push your IT teams. And they are. And so we're seeing legal really influence IT. And in fact, we have one client who the general counsel, IT kind of shut down ChatGPT, and the general counsel put herself on the AI committee and said, we're pushing this through. We're going to get enterprise licenses, et cetera. So who owns it? I'm not sure. I think it looks different company to company, but legal can play a big role here and really push through the tools that they need, because it's, you're just going to be left behind if you don't do anything, or just say we're going to use Copilot and just do meeting summaries. I mean, that's great, but that's not even the tip of the iceberg, right? So, and then I think the role of legal ops is big here, because I think that this is really where the legal ops professionals can really drive this for their organizations. The lawyers don't really have time to run all of the POCs and test these tools out and hear and you know how it is, like, a general counsel or a lawyer will go to a conference and hear something about a tool, and then they come back not knowing anything about the tool or their use case or anything. And they're like, oh, we have to get this. Everybody at the conference was saying it was great, and then that's how a lot of these tools benefited tremendously from that. I saw like all of a sudden every one of our clients is using XYZ, and I'm like, why are you guys using it? Oh, I heard about it at a conference.
Right. We had the best flag or amazing booth. And
yeah. And so, but meanwhile, like, this is not the tool I would have picked for you necessarily, but okay. So this is where legal ops can really control that and start and doing the right thing, like making sure going back to the basics, understanding your requirements before you go out and select tools. So how's that kind of for a non-answer? I don't know. I'm curious, Sumi and Matt, like what you see. And yeah.
I'm going to reflect on a couple of things, but go ahead, Sumi. Any additional thoughts on that?
No, I think maybe I would just add that a lot of times people are coming back from the conferences and asking for things, and they don't even know what they're asking for. And so I find that if we can go back to the basics, understand the use cases, then let the legal ops team sort through what's possible, what's not, what are the appropriate tools, what is an agent, and do we need agentic AI? What is what's the difference between each LLM? Is there something better? Is one better for one thing versus another? Understanding the basics is imperative for legal ops so that they can also help the legal team navigate it when they start to come up with those use cases.
Yep.
And all of these, what you both are saying, when legal ops is looking at all these products, or when GC comes back from an event and say, hey, I heard from this vendor, they can do this. Can you check it out? Because I need it. As you said, there might be a lot of facts missing of what that vendor can actually do, or what they need from you to be able to do what you think they can do. So it's not that simple.
Now, I'm gonna let the audience in on a secret. Sometimes demos and these salespeople exaggerate their capabilities, just so you know.
Which is why they make Malbek. Well, no, this is why Malbek sends me. I'm not in sales, and I have to go to every booth because of that reason. Because I have to say, because our product is what it is. You get what you pay for. You get what you see. There's no magic that we do behind the scenes.
We get that. That's why we love you. Yeah.
And so if you look at all these tools, legal ops should also talk to sales ops, to marketing ops, because here's what's happening in the enterprise. Let's say legal is looking at Harvey or Copilot or Lagora or Claude for their entire legal department. Sales is also looking for something, and they might be making a decision independently, not knowing legal is already working with Claude. And marketing might be looking at something. So at some point, someone above should be like, okay, what is going to be our corporate AI tool or strategy that works for all? The other thing is, even within Claude, there are different models. And if you compare that with Gemini or OpenAI or Mistral or any of these LLMs, some are better than others for legal language, right? So one tool is not good for all. And the other thing I see is every time they release a new model, if you tested the same thing a day ago and now with the new model, you get a different response.
That's right.
And lawyers, I'm not a lawyer, but Sumi, you can correct me if I'm wrong. You guys want consistency, right? Lawyers want a consistent answer. If I have this position on liability, it needs to be the same for contract after contract after contract. It cannot be worded differently for each contract. And that's the challenge with AI and LLMs. Sometimes you'll get different verbiage. So now, do you want 50 contracts having 50 different ways of saying the same thing in liability? So these are the challenges I think we face. And part of the process, which is going into my next question, is how does legal ops manage to do all this sandbox testing? There's organizations that are evaluating 5 different products at any given time and just want to know, hey, which one's going to work for me, and can I just build my agents to do all of this work? So is there a method to the madness, in your opinion?
Yeah, a couple of things. Well, one, and to talk quickly about the kind of governance, I'm not a big fan of committees. Obviously, they tend to slow things down tremendously. Sumi and I had an old boss named Gabriel, who you know, Matt, as well. And Gabriel used to say, a zebra is a horse designed by committees. So, you don't necessarily get to the best answer, and it can take a lot of time. But I do think in this instance, having that, you do need a cross-functional team looking at these things for exactly the reasons you're talking about. Because while I do think these legal specific tools are really impressive and interesting, and there's a lot of promise there, there's a lot you can do with the base models too. And so as we think about ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, if sales is looking at that, legal can certainly leverage that. So you do want to know where those opportunities are, because you can do so much with these base models and just custom building in these base models without necessarily going to the very specific legal tools. And because legal teams do a ton of administrative work, right? So that's the stuff that you can automate without the legal specific tools. Now, bringing some order to the madness, I think that, on the one hand, you want to encourage the innovation and they're excited about things. And so you want to keep that going. So I think just like we always do, a couple of things you want to consider is you have to understand why they want the tool. What is the specific use case? What are their requirements? kind of have a script ready for them. Like, okay, then these are the things and a scorecard, right? Like, these are the things, you need to be testing, and then you need to score this vendor and tell us like how each of these things is working for whatever the use case is. So you need to get really specific, because otherwise you cannot compare apples to apples. And you might have different use cases, obviously, that you're using different tools for. But if you're using like Ivo and Pinsights and whatever the contracting redlining tools are, then you're going to want to compare apples to apples. And so whoever is in the test group, they need to understand what they're scoring, how they're scoring. And then you kind of want to, once you move past okay, we've narrowed it down to these couple of tools, you have to normalize the scoring, in other words, so that you can end up picking the right tool and compare and doing a proper comparison. And then you want them to calculate an estimated ROI. So like, it doesn't have to be perfect, like rough numbers. Like I was, reviewing NDAs, and for 3 hours a week, I was spending reviewing NDAs, and now I'm doing it for 15 minutes. That's an ROI, right? And so like, I think doing that will kind of normalize it, so you can have some order to it. But Sumi, is that what you would say too? Am I missing?
Yeah, I also think that as part of building the ROI, kind of to Matt's point is earlier about some LLMs do things very well for legal teams, and some are just okay. I think you need to, and every upgrade, has something new and different. I think they also have to calculate what the level of effort is in maintaining it. Just with like any other legal tech tool, if you're gonna go with base model, or internally develop something and IT is owning this, then think about what is it that, they're obviously going to tune it the first time for your use case. Are they going to continue to tune it? Are they going to continue to support that? Or are you going to have to do that? For really complex use cases, some of these point solutions are really great because they're doing that, and you don't have to. So you continue to have the same unique experience, like over and over again, as opposed to, oh, now I got to stop. It's changed. I got to fix it. So there's a level of effort involved in that. So understanding what the boundaries are of that and the resourcing components is also part of, I think, legal ops' job in understanding what that the cost is, the total cost for implementing one or the other.
Agreed. And there's also I always wonder, like, what are these LLMs having as SLAs? Because, when you have a normal enterprise system, let's take CLM again for it. If something's not working, you go to the vendor and say, hey, this is not working, and you need to fix it in SLA timeframe. Right. If you get a bad response from Claude, what are you going to do? Go call an Anthropic? It's like the weatherman, right? If it's right, you say, oh, awesome, I'm glad I knew what the weather is like. If it's not right, okay, missed one. so that I would love to be in that position. Yeah. Right. Okay, very good. Well, I think we'll leave there and maybe think about all this. The audience can certainly tag us with questions on our post. But appreciate both of your time and insights always. Maybe we can do a next episode in a few months to see how whatever we're saying today is different 6 months from now or the same.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that. Yeah, because at this point, I mean, it's new. This is new to all of us, right? We're just kind of guessing what's going to happen. So happy to come back.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. And thank you, audience, for listening in.